than is absolutely necessary once the wet run is gone. Prost, they presume is still on, but it would be taking professionals into quite heavy limits to think of that. Prost may not have thought of it. And Berger has now closed up, still knocking this lap record down. Another new lap record for Berger. 1 minute 22, very easy one, 0.222. And he's now only a second behind Alan Prost. So Berger still in 5th place, but threatening.
What a pity they aren't all together from our visual point of view. But here is the potential, virtually certain winner, Ayrton Senna, coming through to start his 70th and last lap of the Canadian Grand Prix, having won in 1988. Having failed to win last year only because his Honda engine let go at the critical moment in the closing stages of the race. Senna at Monaco, the previous Grand Prix, led from the green light until the checkered flag, and he is going to have had a similarly commanding race here in Canada. He's on his last lap now. There is Roland Brunschreider in the inset, the man who starts the races, the clerk of the course, the Belgian, and Senna has driven a copybook race.
Yes, a very straightforward win for Ayrton Senna. Once Berger put himself out of the action by jumping the start. Berger, of course, remember, still leads Senna on the road, but of course Senna has had no reason to chase him. And I thought Senna certainly, let's say he changed his tires conservatively in letting the road dry a bit more than necessary, and probably not the quickest way, but nobody else, apart from Berger, who got in the lead and got him away from Senna. He changed, even him a little bit late, but earlier than Senna, and that gave him the advantage. And then it was all plain sailing for Senna. Berger, meanwhile, has battled away, but the big battle being for second place. At the moment, Piquet holds it, and looks like doing so, the two Ferraris, but can Berger catch him on the road? And of course, this we can never see until we work it out from the results on the stopwatch.
Well, Ayrton Senna approaches the finishing line to win his 23rd Grand Prix. There is the official holding out that checkered flag. Senna is almost within sight of it now. He's down through the Olympic rowing strip, through the S-bend, and he's well ahead, and Ayrton Senna goes over the line to win his 23rd Grand Prix in the McLaren Honda here at Canada. But who is going to be second? Who is going to be third? Who is going to be fourth? And there is Gerhard Berger, and we've got to work it out on the clocks before we know where he is, although he looks to me to be going slower at this particular point. No. Well, I would love to look in the closing stages at the battle between Piquet, Mansell and Prost. We're looking at an absolutely empty circuit, except for Gerhard Berger flying round on his own there. And he may finish in 5th position, which is where he was when this lap started, or he may finish higher up. So, Ayrton Senna has won the Canadian Grand Prix, no doubt about that, and we've already seen Gerhard Berger finish ahead of Senna on the road. But the question is, where is Senna in the race? And here it is. Here is the news. Gerhard Berger has moved up into 4th position, 3/100ths of a second ahead of Alain Prost. What an amazing finish.
No confusion. Senna is the winner. He's really delighted with that one.
Absolutely, indeed.
His 99th Grand Prix, Ayrton Senna. His 23rd victory. So, the rest of the cars coming home. The order, we think: Senna, Piquet, Mansell, Berger, Prost. Warwick gets that point for Lotus this time. Modena, Caffey, Bernard, Capelli, Nakajima. So Senna the winner. Slowed right down at the end. In fact, the victory margin just 10.5 seconds. Well, John, we saw Jean Alesi have a very big accident. Everyone's been predicting that Alesi would finally shunt in a Formula 1 car, and it really was a problem of a novice. Ron Dennis talking to Gerhard Berger. Plenty of Brazilian flags here, presumably connected to Brazilian fans.
Yeah, talking about Alesi's accident, really that was a lot of enthusiasm, a lack of judgment and a little bit of inexperience in his part to try and do what he did there. really was impossible. It was never going to work. Even when Nannini did it, he shouldn't have tried to do it. Senna did do it, but much further down the track, and he was able to get it under control and back onto the dry line before he was heavily on the brakes. But I think for Jean Alesi, that'll be a very memorable lesson. And as you say, many people have been anticipating this confidence, almost overconfidence that he's been displaying in a car. It may now check that, and no bad thing.
Look at Senna. He is absolutely delighted with that success.
And he's entitled to be. That was an absolute copybook victory. He drove the perfect, that's the definitive Grand Prix victory. And as I said earlier, the purple patch that Senna might, well, in my opinion, be now coming into, the maturity that sometimes has been seen to be lacking, impetuosity when he's been overtaking people, particularly slower people, in misjudgments that one would not assume that he would make. Maybe now we're now in the period of Ayrton Senna's Formula One career, we're going to see something even more remarkable.
Senna, Piquet, Mansell, Berger, Prost and Donnelly, that is the top 6. Warwick, I should have said, in 6th place. Well, a fan congratulating Ayrton. Talking to his mechanics and engineers. The Mexican Grand Prix, the next race in 2 weeks' time. We'll be live flag to flag on Eurosport. John and myself. There's Modena, Caffey, Bernard, Capelli, Nakajimi and Suzuki. So it's goodbye from John and myself.
I think conditions were difficult for everybody. Slippery with the wets, and then with the slicks, still with the circuit quite slippery, very difficult to judge your pace, your braking points. Of course, to overtake slow cars, as soon as you go a little bit offline, the tires would just lose completely the grip. I had a first gear broken on my pit stop, so from there on, from quite early in the race on, I had no first gear. And I was very concerned more than anything that this first gear would compromise the gearbox later in the race, the other gears, but fortunately the car went to the finish line altogether.
The trouble was, as soon as you go offline to overtake, it can take maybe 1 lap or even a lap and a half before you get good grip back. And a few drivers were very good, they moved offline, but a few other drivers, they just stayed right on the line and forced you offline, and it spoilt the race at the end a little bit.
Ayrton Senna's 23rd Grand Prix victory here in Canada, with Nelson Piquet in 2nd place, Nigel Mansell 3rd and Gerhard Berger 4th, in spite of that 60-second penalty at the start. 3/100ths of a second ahead of Alain Prost in 5th position, with Derek Warwick in 6th place. And in the Drivers' Championship, Ayrton Senna is now 12 points ahead of Gerhard Berger, with Alain Prost in 3rd place, Jean Alesi 4th, Nelson Piquet in 5th position, and a tie for 6th between Riccardo Patrese and Thierry Boutsen. McLaren now lead the Constructors' Championship by 29 points, but it's a new 2nd place constructor, Ferrari, who have moved ahead of Williams, with Benetton in 4th place and Tyrrell 5th. And in 2 weeks' time, it is the Mexican Grand Prix. Join us.